The first thing I've got to do is award the prize for the poster. So it says here, the standard of the poster is very high, and voting was very close and split across all posters fairly evenly, which suggests to me it was almost a lucky jackpot. Who won? Who managed to vote twice, perhaps, or vote for themselves? We won't. No, I'm being completely unfair now. So on the basis of a straightforward count, the winner was poster 4, which is Kahina 8 Uzo. I really apologise if I've got that pronunciation. Is that completely wrong, that pronunciation? Oh, almost completely wrong. So I got the oo right at the beginning of this. So anyway, come forward, please. Thank you. So this was analysing customer behaviour for shopping centres in London using GPS data. The partner was Movement Strategies. So there's your prize.
Thank you so much.
We've got to get organised for a photo. Come on. So have I got to give you it now or something? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I do think Guy needs a little... Sorry. I've said this once or twice, that Guy needs to question himself on where there's a number of retailers giving out an Amazon voucher as a prize, but I'll leave people to rumble about that one. But anyway, the last thing we always do for on the Doug conferences, and this again is a tradition that I've been very happily taking on from Keith before I took over, is amongst the group, we look for an organisation that we think has contributed to the data sector over the last year, or we've come aware of it over the last year. You probably won't be surprised, given the last presentation, that what we want to do this year is recognise the work of Map Action, because what they are clearly doing is taking the geodemographics that was the original idea behind Doug and putting it into a whole different field and doing some great work in all sorts of other areas outside the UK. The prize is always the same thing. It's a picture of the northeast corner of London, and Keith's going to remind me who did the map. Charles Booth. And the historic reason is it's where actually they first did analysis of where the Black Death occurred. I don't know if those of you who've seen it will have seen where they were able to detect the fact that disease was coming out of bad water because of the clusters around. I'm completely wrong on this, aren't I? What was the reason for it, Keith?
It was Charles Booth's survey of poverty in London.
That was it. I knew there was a geodemographic connection.
The scale runs through from highest class down to the lowest one, which is low class, vicious semi-criminal is one of the categories.
Which is even more relevant to diversity. You see how... Fantastic. So Liz and Carl, would you come forward please to accept our award for all the work that you do and the recognition? There we go. There. So now Jan always gives us instructions as to where to go for the photo. Ooh.
Nice.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I say, we always have to warn people to have an office wall available. Fantastic. It remains for me to just summarise the day, and then hopefully you can stay on for a glass of wine. But before I forget, because Jan's just told me all the important things that happen on time, will you please make sure you fill out an evaluation form before you leave? And because if you do it after you leave, you almost certainly won't fill it in. Okay, so the green form, Jan helpfully colour-coded them all for us. So just to summarise, I hope, and I'm thoroughly excited by the last presentation, the way you were able, particularly in that last example, to show how important diversity is, even in a chaotic environment like Syria, and how if we forget to analyse diversity, these things easily happen by default, because I'm sure in that instance nobody particularly aimed to get it wrong or to get it distorted, but it happens naturally if we're not aware of it. So I hope, if nothing else, today just asks you to raise the question, asks you to sometimes leave space within your analysis for those ambiguities to still exist, that we're not the ones who close it down, that we sometimes are those who are the grit in the middle of an organisation to just get them to think again. I often remember listening to us, it was my youngest son actually who challenged me once when they were talking about whether happiness was the best, most productive for an organisation. And it turns out actually that happy organisations are not necessarily, in fact quite probably, not the ones who will perform best in the long run. And that tends to be because the happy people are all getting on and they're never questioning the current status quo, so they're not ready to change. So you should encourage your teams to have some grumpy people in the corner who are actually questioning what's going on at the moment. And I argue that the analysts should be those grumpy people in the corner of an organisation, sticking and prodding and challenging people and being a little bit subversive, whilst also trying to keep your job. I do suggest that actually you remember that you are there for the good of the organisation. And I do think that being the challenger within an organisation is for their good, and that in the long term you'll see it. So I hope that by having these days together, when we hopefully think about things you don't have time to think about elsewhere, you do go away and actually have that opportunity to question and challenge and provoke and be stimulated to do those analyses. And I hope as well that we can build on the relationship we've started with Map Action so that you can help develop your analysts by doing other things outside their day jobs, which then enable them to do their day jobs better. Thank you very much for sitting through it. Thank you very much for contributing in all your various different ways. And I do have an apology. I'm not actually going to stay around for very long this afternoon because unfortunately my wife was in hospital yesterday, so I probably need to get back fairly promptly. So if I leave you in the capable hands of Jan, I hope you'll understand. I've also got an apology because I'm going to use that as excuse for why I haven't got Jan a bottle of wine and a bunch of flowers to say thank you, because as I always say at the end of these things, everything that's gone right in terms of people being here on time is down to Jan. All the things where it's got messed up a bit is definitely down to me. So actually, thank Jan, and please thank Jan now with your show of appreciation, even if I can't give her a bottle of wine yet. Thank you.